What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. It's time to move a Lego room. So before we get into the nitty gritty and the packing, I have to set the stage because this is a process. This move is a big deal. It's a two-part move. So we're actually moving across the country to Massachusetts. We are currently in Utah, so not across the country move, but pretty close to that. The reason being is because we both have wanted to live out there for a while. I have family out there. I've been out there many times. I feel very at home there. But we're not moving until August, and obviously Coruscant's not done. I can't move right now. And so this is a mini move to a place that we're staying at for about 3 months until we make the big move to Massachusetts. So I wanted to say all this now so there wasn't confusion in a few months when I'm packing up and moving again. Everyone's like, wait, I thought he just moved. What's going on? This place that I'm in now is temporary. I said that with, and you'll hear that come up a lot throughout the video, and I did also say that in the Coruscant update last week. And speaking of Coruscant, if you haven't seen it, I moved my entire Coruscant MOC from the old Lego room to this new one, and I'll put a link to that at the top of the video. And this will probably be the more interesting of the two moves, as I'm not going to be doing a lot of super intense packing, so it might be a little bit more chaotic, and I'm basically just winging it. But who doesn't love a little bit of winging it and chaos, right? All that being said, that's everything you need to know. I think it's time to get packing. The biggest challenge with this move will be space. So far, every time I've moved into a new Lego room, it's been bigger than the previous one. So like a snake shedding its skin, I always have room to expand. This time, there's going to be a big downside in space, so I need to fit this python of a Lego room into a gardener snakeskin of a room. I'm gonna start with the most delicate stuff first, my MOCs. Each one has a unique shape and size, so I basically have to play Tetris when placing these and try and fit them together as best I can in the transportation bins. I used some crates and books to fill up unusable spaces and create flat areas for the MOCs to sit on, since, unlike sets which were built to be yeeted around the room by your younger cousins who invaded the Lego room, most of these builds don't have a strong frame and need to be fully supported. While I'm over here, I'm going to pack up some parts containers, which can be done by simply facing the sides with the bins towards each other and taping them together, creating a secure box. Alright, I got this shelf all cleaned off and everything is packed up. I got some of it in here, and then most of it's in this over here. I put this blanket in just to make sure everything is a little bit more secure and doesn't move around too much. I don't think I'll need to take these minifigs off because this will just be sitting in the car next to me. All this stuff, this and this shelf, are going over today in about an hour, in fact. One thing I am a little disappointed on is when transporting MOCs, it's a very inefficient process, I guess, because as you can see, I still have half of this bucket that I could fill, but if I put stuff on top of the gunship and those other smaller MOCs, it's just going to crush everything, and by the time I get everything unpacked or move this bucket to the new place, I'll just have a bucket of parts. I guess that's just one of the downsides to displaying and transporting MOCs. So on to my parts collection. This is what I decided to do with these Acclamator bins. Instead of, taping or covering up the entire front, I just smushed them together and then taped them together like that, and I have this perfect little box ready for transportation. So that whole process went pretty smoothly, but then I started thinking about this and how I'm going to transport all this, and I was trying to think about what I did last time, and then I remembered I was only using these the last time I moved. I bought all of these red bins after, so it's going to be a process for sure. What I'm thinking about doing is once I empty out these bins at the new place, I'm going to bring them back and just stack them as full as I can with the red bins. I can even go over the top, about this high, and then I'll just run some tape across like that, holding them down into the box. And then I'll stick a flattened cardboard box on the front side and tape it to the front side. That way none of the parts can spill out the front. So I think that will probably be the quickest and easiest way to get all these to the new place. And then we have this. The Tower of Lego Sets and MOCs. And this is, where I keep some of my most cherished collection pieces, like this, the Acclamator. Still not 100% sure how I'm going to be moving some of those. The smaller sets will be the easiest. I'll just pile the buckets full, but I'm going to have to figure out something where for these bigger sets, it might just turn into multiple trips with those buckets, emptying them out and then bringing them back. One thing I don't really know what to do with is these lights. I have strip lights along the bottom, And I've never really moved a shelf that had strip lights because I'm probably going to have to dismantle all of this, which means pulling off the lights, and I don't know if they're going to be that sticky again. So this will be a learning experience for me. I may be able to reuse them, and I may just have to use the other new lights that I bought. This shelf has actually been pretty easy just because it's just full of odds and ends, and up here as well. So I've basically been stuffing them all into random open sections and free spaces in the other containers. Well, my palms were sweaty and I was pretty tense because that was a stressful drive. This shelf did not fit in the back of my trunk. I thought it would because I brought all of this to my house from the store, but it was all disassembled. So that extra height just made it so it wouldn't fit all the way in the trunk. So I had to tie everything down, which wasn't too bad. Made it there without any issues, but as you can imagine, driving with something hanging out the back of your car is never fun. And over here, I've got the buckets, all the sets. Everything transported pretty smoothly. I was worried some of this stuff would fall or break. I thought about leaving the Canon, but I just wanted to get as much as I could. So now that I'm here, it's time to give you guys a little tour of the Lego room. Well, this won't be much of a tour because this is basically everything. Luckily, Coruscant fits in here and that's all that matters, but it's definitely a significant downgrade in the size. I'm thinking about having that smaller shelf over there, and then my red part bin collection will be along that back wall if I can fit it. And then I'll have my display shelves and kind of my filming table, decaling stage table over here in that corner. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to shut the door, but you know, not that huge of a deal. As long as I can fit everything and work, I'll be fine. There is a closet, but it's not really big enough for much. I'll just put some storage. Honestly, if I can't fit this shelf out here, I could stick it in here for now. Luckily, this is only for a few months, so you know, this isn't a permanent setup for me. I need all my parts to go next so I can start working on Coruscant again. I've created one of the most efficient and organized parts collections with these red bins that I have ever had, but with that comes some problems. The bins are open in the front and top, with some being very full, so they need to be boxed up very snugly so as not to spill or tip over. And I have close to 100 of these. I'm gonna need some big old boxes of just the right dimensions, basically the perfect storm of tape and cardboard, and boy did I get lucky. Well, that went a lot smoother than I thought it was going to. I was able to fit all of my containers except for these 3 red ones, and I already have another box for those. And let me tell you, I could not have picked 2 better boxes to hold all these red bins than these 2. And the crazy thing is, these are just random boxes. This is from an old job I used to work at, and this is just from a big Lego set I bought. I think it was the UCS Imperial Shuttle, but look at this. This one right here is the exact width of a red bin, and I was able to stack 6 of these in each row. So 6 times 4, 24 red bins in here, and I don't have to worry about them spilling out or even tape the fronts because with how snug they are, I just really don't see many pieces falling out of here, if any. And then there's even a little bit of space on the side that I was able to cram in some extra boxes. And then this one. These are all stacks of 6 again with 7 stacks, totals in 42 red bins. And just look at the perfect dimensions of this box. Just wide enough for one, and then the width of another one, just long enough to fit 2 lengthwise, and then 4 widthwise. I mean, this is just blowing my mind right now, guys. I couldn't have designed a better box to hold these bins, and lo and behold, I just had 2 of these chilling in the closet because I've been thinking, like, how am I going to transport these? And these ended up working out better than the blue bins because of how tall they are, which I feel like they're kind of unusually built for a box, right? You want something wide and you want something a little bit shallower so you can reach down in there and pull stuff out, and that way you're not stacking too many things on top of each other. But boy, I mean, I don't think you guys turned on this video thinking you were going to hear a positive rant about random cardboard boxes, but here we are. I'll probably tape those up. I don't think I'll close the lids on this one because I don't think I can, but I'll get those ready to pack. And then these shelves, I'm probably going to have to take this section off. These shelves were built in a way that they come apart pretty easily as well. These taller frames are only held together by the individual shelves, and these shelves are just stuck onto these little metal pins, and all you got to do is pop the shelf off of the metal pins like that, and then once you get all the shelves off, then the tall frame will be disconnected from everything. So should all come apart pretty easily and quickly and into the truck. Okay, this was the part of the move I was dreading the most, moving the mighty Acclamator to the new home. I didn't want to disassemble it just because this thing, it can be disassembled, but it's not super easy, and I really wanted to enjoy this as long as I could. So I decided to move it assembled. There just wasn't any other option than to have someone actually hold it. And it wasn't the best idea, but I mean, considering what I wanted to do and the fact that I wanted to move it built, there was no other option. So I basically just held it like this when I had to, and then set it down on this thing. And it's digging into my hand pretty good, unfortunately, but we're here. And it didn't break, so that's what matters. So the worst part's over. I do have to do the same thing with the Star Destroyer, but I'm not as emotionally invested in the Star Destroyer, so we'll probably try something a little less grueling. At this point, most of the real fragile stuff and parts I need have been safely moved, so now I can start packing up the main bulk of my collection, which means cramming as many of these sets into the boxes as I can. As I've been packing and moving, I've started asking myself, do I really need all these sets? I have so many builds just sitting here gathering dust that will never be used, like Anakin's Pod Racer, Boba Fett's Slave 1, that droid proton cannon, stuff I'm never really going to use in a mock. I also found that fleet of microships I was talking about in last week's room tour. This is basically a game of mix and match, trying to find what sets fit together best without breaking them. Big sets at the bottom with smaller stuff filling in the gaps, and of course I can't move without my Bionicle containers. There's no greater jewel in a LEGO collection than a set of Bionicle cases on display. With pretty much everything here, it's time to perform the greatest feat I've ever undertaken, fitting a LEGO room into a space almost half its size. I'm prioritizing the bins and containers of parts because I'm primarily a mock builder and most of my videos involve parts. I don't have the space or desire to set up all my display shelves as well, so only the left half of the shelves that held the Acclamator will be used, and the other half will go into storage until I move to a bigger room. Well, everything is unpacked, mostly, and settled in, and here's the big reveal of the new LEGO room. Ta-da! I'm just kidding. I know it's kind of anticlimactic, especially coming off of last week's room tour, but as I've said multiple times, this is definitely a size downgrade, so it's not going to be a full, complete LEGO room like the previous one was, but this is also temporary. So, starting over here in the corner, this is really where I had the most open space to work with, and so I decided the best use would be all of my smaller bins of parts and my deep storage. That way, it's kind of out of the way, and I can come and go between this and Coruscant fairly easily, and then the main bulk of my parts is going to be over here on these shelves. I actually have two more of these shelves that could go here and here, but because I'm going to be moving again so soon, I decided to just keep those broken down and just double stack all of the bins over here and try and fit it on one shelf, just to be a little bit more efficient and save myself some time in the future. Plus, this now gives me a little bit of extra room over here in the corner. Underneath is basically where everything else goes that wasn't able to go on a shelf or in a bin, just boxes of sets and parts and shelves and all kinds of goodies. And this is basically what the LEGO room is going to look like. I'm all settled in. I'm about 80, let's say 90% settled in, and there'll probably be this trickle effect of me unpacking more things and setting up more things as time goes on, and I slowly get a better feel for this room and utilize the layout as best as possible. But we're missing a couple of things. Where's the box wall, Coconut? Where's your display shelves with the lights? Where are you going to do your side builds and your building challenges? Unfortunately, the box wall had to get put up here like most typical box storages that I see in the top of a closet. And then we've got more stuff down here. And then out here in the living room, I actually decided to put my display shelves with the sets. And then I've got the table out here. So this is where I'll do like my talking heads and smaller building challenge videos. I was going to try and cram everything in the other room and put this where the parts were, but it just didn't really make sense logistically, and I had all of this empty space out here that we weren't going to use, so I figured it would be a no-brainer to just put it out here and have so much more space to work with in both rooms. And speaking of shells, I'm actually really liking how these look. I went with that, once again, kind of smaller, simpler, more minimalist look, and it just looks so much better than the cluttered shelves with, like, I don't know, there used to be this thing of like display as much as you can, show as much as you can, store as much as you can for me personally, but now I kind of like this look better of just a few more choice MOCs and sets on display. And then I'm thinking once I finish Coruscant and take it down, I won't set all of these tables up for the next mock. I'll just start it with a smaller section. And then if I really need to, I can move those sets. I can move that display shelf in here with the table and have all this space to work with since, that part of Coruscant will be gone. That's a wrap on the move. I'm very happy and very grateful to finally be unpacked and settled into the new place and I can get back to work. Now, it's not the biggest Lego room. It's definitely a downgrade in size, but I must say I'm very happy with it. I love the simple nature. I feel like the focus shifted away from like mock building, sets, mocks, and just a lot more big and chaotic to a lot more smaller, streamlined, and focused on just mock building. And I feel less overwhelmed for some reason when I walk in there. I guess there's just less sets, less things because in the old Lego room, there's always stuff that needs to be dusted, reorganized, moved, taken apart. And that kind of ties into the biggest takeaway I had from this video. I had a really big awakening and mental shift last year. I think it was last year or the year before, I don't remember, when I really got into doing big mocks and taking this more seriously as like a job and a career. I realized there wasn't really a reason to be buying Lego sets anymore. And I kind of stopped buying Lego sets. I told you guys I was having this mindset change where like I'm focusing more on the parts, building mocks, and if I do want to display stuff, building custom vehicles and ships, which just look so much better and kind of fit the vibe of what I want my channel and my room to look like. But I still had all the sets that I already owned, and a lot of them I felt like I could just never get rid of, like old school classic Clone Wars sets. But moving and really evaluating like what is worth packing and transporting to me, because that's a pain, that's a hassle, made me realize there are a lot of things that I just don't care about that much. It's just that attachment to it because I already own it. So I got rid of some sets and I'm going to be getting rid of more, and I'm just going to continue to thin out to the herd until I'm just left with what I truly want. I think that's enough rambling. I've kind of lost my train of thought, so it's time to end the video. But thank you guys all so much for watching and for supporting, and get ready. A wild summer ahead of us here in Coconut Brick Studios, but it should be good stuff. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about this episode down below in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. But until then, happy building.